I am currently trying to cope with the fact that I am at the same number of books this year that I was at 2 years ago. That may seem fine until you realize that in 2023, I only read between September and December. This is what I read from January of this year until December of this year. I read the first 5 by May, the next 2 in summer, and only 2 books in the fall semester/December holiday. I was reading Belladonna for so long that I'm pretty sure people thought I carried the book around as a fashion accessory. In case it wasn't clear from the very short list of books, this year was rough. Like, really, really rough. I spent a large part of the fall semester questioning if somebody had cursed me because, like I said, rough. People would see me around campus and be like, "Oh, how are you?" And I would just smile because I really couldn't bring myself to lie and say, "Oh, I'm good," or "Things are great." And once I admitted, "Yeah, things are a little rough," and someone said, "Yeah, you look like it." And I didn't even take it as an insult because I think that was my reflection speaking to me. And even if it wasn't, it was not a lie. Okay, that seemed a little dramatic. I swear I am okay. It was just a lot. But there was some good stuff this year, don't misunderstand me. But we're here to talk about books, so let's get into it. There could have been more books this year, but one in particular was just so long and difficult to get through. But let's not get there just yet. I had intended to try and make it to 10 books this year, but it was December 28th when I started reading what I thought would be book 10. But it was looking really good so far, and I didn't really want to rush it, and I don't want to stress myself out during my break. But I will talk about this book a little bit more at the end of the video. Since these aren't 32 books, I can talk about them one by one without this video being too long. But this time around, each book will have a mood board, and by that I just mean a selection of reaction pics to summarize my experience reading the book. If there are spoilers, you will be informed at the beginning of each book review. Also, I only read 2 rom-coms this year, so I'll rank them with the rest. Usually I avoid doing this as I think it's unfair to compare thrillers and rom-coms, but I'd be lying if I said I cared at this point. I say this with love and respect for the authors of these books, but with some of the mysteries that I read this year, yeah, let's just rank everything together. But I will still rank the twists on the side. Obviously, rom-coms don't really rank here. In case you're wondering why there's no spice ranking this time around, it's because there are only 2 books to rank, and it can be done in 5 seconds. There. Okay, moving on to the ranking. At number 1, we have Secluded Cabin Sleep 6. What could I say about this one that wasn't said in the only Goodreads book review that I wrote this year? I think this being the first book I read in 2025 was a warning of how the year was gonna go. The fact that the last part of my book review was lost only added to my anger surrounding it. I would tell you the plot of this book, but honestly, I can barely remember it. I think that they're on a camping trip or something. Oh my gosh, wait, I just remembered that there was the owner of the cabin who had cameras set up and would watch the guests there, and it just kind of went nowhere. Like, he was like watching them like change, doing like very intimate stuff. It was really, really weird. And then he like had a relationship with I think one of the cleaners of the cat. What was happening anyway? Wow, I just did not like this book. The twist was so unbelievably predictable because there just weren't really that many people in this. I also completely forgot every single character, which doesn't usually happen with the books that I've read. It also uses this idea of a serial killer or like an evil person having a kid, and then that kid is like genetically predisposed to being evil. I get that there are some studies that suggest this, but there's also multiple studies that say this is all kind of BS, and I do not like this idea. But even outside of this book was not worth the read at all. At number 8, we have The God of the Woods. You might recognize this one from it being the number 1 mystery thriller book on Goodreads last year. I'll say something about the Goodreads Awards. There should be some rule that people should not be able to vote in certain categories if none of the books are even on their shelves. I know that I'm exposing myself here, but let's be honest, no one has ever read every Goodreads book that's up for the best of its genre, so naturally people will vote for the book that they know or that they have read. That's fine, but the way that the voting system works is that you vote by category. I think that there is a way to skip a category, but most people just vote for whichever they feel is best, even when they haven't read all the books in that section. I do it too, don't misunderstand me, but maybe then this will not result in the best book really being chosen. So when I was able to read the Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Thriller in 2024, forgive me for my expectations being a little bit high, but I now realize that this title does not always mean really that much. This year was already really difficult in terms of my workload, and this book being the longest book I've read in my entire life was not helping anything. And I'm okay with books being long or short or whatever they are, just so long as the story is good, and I don't think it was that good. There was a lot of meandering happening here and there, ultimately to a twist that wasn't really that predictable, more so just a little bit boring. So what is the book about? Essentially, the book takes place in 2 different periods, a couple of decades apart. It might actually be 3 different periods, but I can't really remember that well. In the past, there was a kid called Bear is a nickname, who went missing and was never found. Years later, his sister also goes missing. You can consider this your final spoiler warning. So the cause of the disappearance of the siblings is not the same, and that's fine. In fact, I think it was a decent subversion for those like me who started the book thinking that the disappearances were related. The only thing is that the book is so long. It's too long. I'm sorry, but it is. For a book this thick, I expect that we are truly understanding characters' motivations and setting up for a reveal that had a lot of context clues needed. But I'm about to explain the A to Z of this book in 2 sentences. Barbara ran away, Bear was dead the whole time. The first twist was whatever, I didn't really have strong feelings about it, and Bear being dead wasn't what irked me, it was just the way that it was revealed. There were a lot of flashbacks and stories that ultimately revealed how messed up the Van Laar family, which is like the main family, how messed up they were, but they didn't really do anything in terms of giving us hints to drive the mystery forward. Am I making any sense here? We eventually get told what happened to Bear. So basically his mom, whose sister was having an affair with her husband, by the way, even though she kind of hated him, I don't even know what. She was also like, I think she got married to this man, she was like still like a child, like if not like a child, she was like 15, which is like, yes, still a child. Again, like it was like dodgy stuff, don't misunderstand me, but it was like, not to say okay and, but like okay and, anyway, whatever. So she finds out that her sister, who was, whatever, so her older sister was having an affair with her husband, and so she loses her mind and she gets like really, really drunk and she wants to go on a boat ride. I think there was like a storm. And like this next part got so descriptive that I didn't even deep she was in the water or even in a boat. Thought she was like swimming at some point. Or that Bear, her son, was with her. But essentially she blacks out, but when she comes to, Bear's gone. But what happened is that he drowned. Again, it took me a minute to understand what was happening, but when I clocked it, I was like, okay. So in the flashbacks, there was this whole idea that kept being repeated that Bear was afraid of his grandfather. But this quite literally has nothing to do with his disappearance. Like, yes, it was his granddad's idea to bury his body without his mother knowing, but if Bear wasn't afraid of him, his granddad would have done the same thing. He was just like a really bad man. It wasn't like a clue. Like, they kept like saying like, oh my gosh, like they were like passing it around like it was like a secret information, like Bear was afraid of his granddad, but it was like his granddad didn't even kill him. Frankly, as devastating as this reveal was, it was still a little bit anticlimactic and it felt a little bit like a waste of my time. I'm not even sure if Barbara even knew about Bear's death or not. Also, there was this whole thing of like Barbara's wall being like painted or unpainted, I'm not really sure. It just really didn't go anywhere. I don't know. I think if it was something like everything's like the exact same way with like Bear drowning or whatever, but there's like a different crime that led to all this stuff being revealed, like I'm like maybe I would have liked it better. I'm really trying to find the words to explain why this book was so frustrating, but like it was, and that's all I'm gonna say about it right now. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating comes in at number 7. This was the last book I read this year and a major reason why I did not read a 10th book. I was breezing through it, about to finish it on the 27th of December, and then I got hit with an unexpected pregnancy. In the book, to be clear. And I hate this trope. I very much despise it. It's fine if it happens in like the last second when the couple is already together, or in like an epilogue when they're married and maybe have another kid. But when it's thrown into the middle of the book as a source of conflict, I just don't feel that good about it. Don't misunderstand me, this is not the only reason why it ranks so low. The concept of this book is that Hazel is this wild card, quirky girl, and Josh is like more pragmatic and a down-to-earth kind of person. I'm like also fine with him being Korean, but like at some point I was like, I get it, guys. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to keep saying my friend's Korean mother or I'm going to Josh's Korean house. Like, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but at some point I was like, girl, it's okay. I was like, I get it. He's Korean, girl. Like, it's alright. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but it was like, it's okay. Like, you don't gotta keep saying my Korean friend Josh's Korean mom. Am I crazy? Anyway, whatever. What got a bit frustrating is that while this counts as friends to lovers, they meet in this book. Why is that weird? Well, it's because from the very first moment, there clearly is some level of attraction between them, and it's like way too obvious where things are going. So when they start setting each other up on double dates at some point, it just feels like a waste of the date's time and also my own time. Personally, I think Friends to Lovers works when the two people know each other before the story starts, and there is a clear point where I can feel the shift of they've gone from just friends to more than friends. Josh and Hazel never really felt like friends. In fact, I think it was kind of annoying because they became so close so fast before like the first 70 pages were done, and it felt like really inorganic and forced. It felt like I was being told that they were so close and comfortable, and they were being so close and comfortable, but it wasn't even like 40 pages ago when they met. Mind you, it's supposed to be like, oh, Hazel just invites everyone out for golf when they're friends, but we never really see her being all that close with Josh's sister, who is her actual friend. Like, I would be so insulted if my closest friend met my sibling and started saying that my sibling was their best friend. or her person before a year has even passed. Finally, I say it with love, but at times Hazel gave off too much of a not like other girls scent, and I wasn't really there for it. At number 6, we have No One Can Know. This one had been sitting on my Goodreads want to read since about 2024, I think. The premise of 3 sisters that may or may not have killed their parents, where the middle sibling was the prime suspect, was a little strange to read for me considering that I am the middle child of 3 girls. I really went in hoping that it was neither of the sisters and it was just some other person who hadn't been suspected, but that wasn't really the case. This book did do a good job of establishing the sisters' dynamics and explaining why one of them or all of them wanted their parents dead. But I really don't remember liking this twist that much. I don't know. I think it was one of those things where like the setup was good, but the reveal wasn't really bad. I just wanted more from it. At number 5, we have Belladonna. This one is a little different from what I'm used to, and you can blame my sister for that, as she was the one who recommended this to me. It's difficult to know where to rank this since I knew one of the major twists of this book before reading it, but in terms of who the murderer was, I thought it was pretty good. Did I see it coming? Only a little bit. Someone was just acting a little bit too strange. Outside of this, I didn't really know how to feel, so I'm gonna bring in my sister to help discuss this with me. Okay, so first on my list is Death Pedophile. Oh. Okay, so essentially, just to be clear, Signa, the main character, firstly that name.
Signa, it's giving Sigma.
I hated it. Your name's still Chris a little bit. I just like the taste of it.
Ew.
You know, I had that tagline on the back of the book. And I was reading that book in public.
Was it big?
It was like bigger, like on the blurb. Like it was like. Anyway, but she like is kind of like immortal, right? Because like whenever she dies, and then she comes back. But then she can like see death, and like death is like a person covered in shadows. Anyway, but like he met her when she was a baby. When everyone got poisoned, and then she was like, I want to collect the soul, and then it wasn't working. But it was kind of like he's like kind of been there her whole life.
Yeah, so it's not really giving grooming because she didn't like seeing him. And
yeah,
so they
but
didn't
like
interact for so long. But it is kind of weird.
I was like trying to get around it because I'm like, I know you guys are gonna
there's
like
no way to get around
there. Okay, and I was like, I know you guys are getting there. I know where it's going. I just have to like get over this mental block.
I was kind of like, is this happening? If she gets for Silas, then
what's gonna happen with Death? Yeah. And she gets with Death, what's gonna happen with Silas?
And I was like, there's no way that's what's being set up.
Okay, because no, so now, okay, we'll get back to what's being set up. But first, I wanted to say, okay, my next note is Signa, be serious and sit down on a bucket of ice and calm down. Because I was like,
that's a bit insane.
No. Here's the thing, I'm okay
with
like...
we don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, I'm okay with spice. It's just the fact that she's like trying to, you know, solve this murder, but then she's also like, but I kind of wanted him. Yeah. And it was like, sometimes it would be like going from like Blythe, like her cousin who's like on the brink of death, and then she'd be like making out with Death, or like thinking about it. She's like, this is the worst timing. I'm like, yeah, it is. I said Perku, I think I meant Percy. I said Percy's death awkward taste. Essentially, her other cousin, well, the cousin's brother, like, was the one who poisoned his own mother and killed her, and then started poisoning his sister. And when she finds out, he also like tries to like burn down, like, what is he trying to burn? The mom's garden, right?
Oh yeah.
And then Death's hounds eat him,
which is insane.
But then she doesn't reveal to the family that he was the one who was poisoning them. And she just said that he, like, ran away. Wait, so hold on.
Who did it? Or did they just move on?
They just said that the poisoning stopped, so it just assumed that the poisoner had gone. But they let go of,
so they didn't put connections together?
They also, like, fired, like, a bunch of stuff. And the poisoning stopped. Because there was, like, other people who left as well. But no, this is kind of weird because it was, like, Blythe and her dad are, like, we kind of miss Percy, like, how is he? And then Signa has to be like, I'm sure he'll come back. And then I put Kwani, all that just for Death to leave. Because it really was all this, like, setup of, like, you're, like, my person, like, I've been trying to find someone with powers like yours. And then it's also, all like, over, to train her as well. Yes, and then he's like, well, bye now. In the end, it was the gay fanfic problem because there were too many he's. People were getting, like, got poisoned again. Like, it was, like, a little, like, cyclical thing. Like, how the book started with, like, a party and then people getting poisoned. It ended with a party and people getting poisoned. Then Death obviously shows up to like take the souls, but it's saying he for Death, but then there was another person there, and it was Fate, in my notes, in my thing, I say fate,
Oh, okay.
absolutely not. Now, there was a point that Death said, I don't want to toy with fate early in the book, and fate was capitalized. And I was like, y'all better not be starting with me.
Wait, girl, I did not even notice that.
Girl, did you read the book?
It says the girl who literally says that she's scared.
Because the girl who literally in this video, I'm like MC. I'm like the main character's boyfriend. I'm like the girl whose name I can't remember. Go me and names.
I feel like I had a problem with fate being blonde.
I was gonna say because
something about that feels. I don't
something
know.
about fate being a man. Like, oh yeah, like we can't even get a. I feel like fate is more of a girl thing. Fate feels like a woman. If that has to be a man, why can't fate be a woman?
I'm saying.
But then also it's giving like I know I'm like reading into it way too soon, but it's giving like it's gonna be a love triangle in the next book.
No, there definitely will be. That's also what I was thinking.
So that's why I'm like if I
really
read that
wanted to
book,
read the
I
next
will
book.
kill myself.
I also wanted to read
like
the beginning,
things.
like how Cigna became, who poisoned all of those people.
Wait, was there another one before it?
Yeah,
there was a book before Belladonna.
it looks like it, but they called it a prologue, so it looks like it came out after.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, okay.
Girl, someone just gave it to me because they were too scared. Like,
was it the one with the mom when she was like, ah! That was a bit scary.
And
like
she
when her mouth was
couldn't
like open. It was creepy.
Bro,
But it wasn't
literally,
like all consuming.
That's what I was saying, because I was told that this is a horror book.
Horror is
it's a strong word.
The scariest thing was how uncomfortable I was with it.
because I was like, okay, I don't understand how there can be horror in books. Like, it's literally all up to how you imagine it. Like,
yeah,
I know there's description and all, but
at the end of the day.
That's what I'm saying. And so then I was like, okay, let me try it and see whether it actually is scary. So I read quite a bit, and I was like, okay, I've read quite a bit. I haven't seen any horror. And she's like, just keep reading. I'm like, can you please tell me what it was? And she told me, and I was like, I passed that. Like, bro, I was feeling like, there's no way this girl's serious. Because the tea is that she couldn't sleep with the lights off. And she went to the bathroom. And she saw a black bird in the bathroom. And she screamed and ran out.
Was there a black bird in her bathroom?
The birds loved to enter the bathroom.
But look, it's like very scary. Wait, at the boarding school. That's terrifying.
It's terrifying, but it's not. She wasn't terrified because there was a bird in the bathroom. She was scared because of the bird.
God, look, if I saw a bird in the bathroom, I'd also scream.
You would scream at night down the hallways of a
At
boarding
night?
house.
Why is there a bird at night? Those people should be asleep.
Way more. And then her roommate was so annoyed that the lights had to be on.
No, not too much, because I had you as a younger sister when you were a kid.
Okay, I didn't have a younger sister. Piss off. Carry on.
Anyway, to wrap this up, yes, when you read the next two, I'm grateful for you giving me a book suggestion this year.
This year?
Well, for 2025.
Okay.
Do not recommend to me another book in that series.
Mara, okay, this is my thing.
No, I'm not done speaking.
Finish speaking because I have...
Okay. When you read the next two books, tell me about them, because I am curious.
Okay.
But I will not be reading them.
Are you
Understood?
sure?
Alright.
Okay, listen, because my thing is that usually, because you've probably said your opinions on the book, how it was, you said your ranking. Honestly, it also probably would be the lowest ranked book for me of the year as well, but that's just because...
As well, Ghost isn't lowest ranked, it's like number 5.
One of the lowest.
Okay.
Because most of the books that I read are good and quite heavy.
Also kind of like stand
And
out.
so...
I mean, you're reading Chimamanda, like...
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, because I don't know what you said about it, but for me, I personally really enjoyed the book because, even though it's one of the lowest ranked,
Well, smutty.
sometimes I just need something
Smart.
Stupid. Okay. Stupid.
Something stupid.
Please, I was like, I thought you were calling me smarty, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, I don't know why you read that book, because I've recommended better books to you, and now here you are crying to me about me not being able to recommend books to you when I recommended Americana, I recommended Purple Hibiscus, and you didn't read them.
I wasn't gonna read those books.
Americana isn't even deep. It's not even
Go with
sad.
how this year went. Do you think that I could have read those books?
Billisbeer.
With how this year went.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Alright, anyway, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for reading a book of mine.
At number 6, we have Yours Truly, the other rom-com from this year, also with a pregnancy subplot. I really just could not catch a break. Do you guys see what I'm saying when I say I think someone cursed me? Okay. Some of you might be wondering why I don't like pregnancy plotlines, and I will explain this after I say why my book is in the top 5. It is also partially because there are only like 9 books over here, so top 5 doesn't really mean that much, but it's also because this book was really cute, like genuinely, for the most part. Essentially, this main guy is kind of like socially awkward, and he has an interaction with the main girl that she's like, okay, I hate this guy now. But he basically writes her a really sincere letter apologizing for the whole ordeal, and they send each other letters back and forth throughout their workday. By the way, they're both doctors, which slay. Also, then her brother needs a new kidney, and the main guy finds out he's a match, and he said that he will donate his kidney. Honestly, everything was going really well with me reading this book, even with the conflict that did feel like quite real and like it made sense to me. So basically, the main guy's brother is engaged to his ex. Messy, 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 messy. And a rom-com trope that I've seen like in 2 other books, I think. I don't know. It's like a very common thing for like the main guy's brother to be dating his ex. I don't know why, whatever. But basically, he wants to prove to his family that he was okay, which is why he agreed to fake date the main girl. But the main girl is also semi-recently divorced from her husband, who left her for one of their friends that he'd actually been in love with for years. Now, she remembers years before that at this friend's wedding, the main character's husband got very, very drunk and upset, and she gets frustrated that she hadn't deeped it sooner because he was like basically like watching the love of his life getting married to another man as he is married to another woman. Anyway, they might not have been married at that point. I think they were just dating, but like you get the idea. So they're still fake dating, but on the night of the main guy's brother's engagement party, again to his ex, the main guy hooks up with the main girl, finally having closure from his ex and realizing that he has feelings for the main girl. But then she takes this as him being so upset about his ex getting married and kind of just using her like as a kind of rebound. And she's reminded of how it went down with her husband. So this is like, it is a misunderstanding, and I really don't like misunderstandings that much, but this one made sense in the context of the novel. And I was really looking forward to seeing how they were going to resolve everything. And then... Rubbish. Okay, to be fair, it wasn't just the pregnancy thing. Around this point in the story, everything just became oddly rushed. Like, it felt like a different writer picked up the story because, like, I'm not usually one to really care that much about the pacing. Like, you as an author can, like, set the pace and I'll keep up however you want me to. But this change up was so jarring that I was like, did somebody else do this part? Was it like she thought she was going to have more pages and then her agent was like, no, you don't have more pages? Because it was so abrupt. Whatever. So about the pregnancy thing. I really do hate it. Like, if it's in the epilogue of a book, then yeah, fine, have as many kids as y'all want. But throwing it in as some kind of third act conflict, yeah, ew. It was also really frustrating for these books because the main girls learn that they're pregnant before they get with the main guy. So it kind of feels like the pregnancy is what influences the girl to be with the guy, which doesn't really make me feel that great. I hope this makes sense. Anyway, at number 3 we have Don't Believe Her, which ranks first twist-wise. This is how I knew this year was kind of crazy, because I was looking at my document where I keep a list of books that I read and in what order I read them, and I saw this book here like at the end of the year, and I had like a Mandela effect moment because I was so certain that I talked about this one last year. But apparently I read it this year, and you know what, I like this book well enough. The premise of this book is that the main character, whose name I cannot remember, was best friends with a girl called Carla, but when they were 16, Carla went missing. Years later, MC is married to Carla's brother Nick, and is still convinced that something happened to Carla. Then a girl shows up claiming to be Carla, but MC is convinced that it's not her. And just for like a bit of context, they were like supposed to be in like a band together that they were gonna call the Wicked Sisters, but like sisters, like not like with an ER, because it was so quirky, whatever. But the point is that like when Carla comes back, MC mentions the band, and Homegirl's like, "You, what are you talking about?" Now, like low key, that was a moment I did appreciate the fact that there was some things that she would do that you could technically say could go either way. Like a lot of people were like, it really could have just been like MC was just like a little bit too obsessed with her, and it was like Carla didn't care that much either. You know, anyway, whatever, sorry. So I won't lie, when I first read this, I did not think it was going to be in my top 3 books of this year. The first part of it felt very frustrating. Firstly, MC's family, as in her husband and mother-in-law, they were like so dismissive of her, saying that this girl isn't Carla, which was explained by the twist, but it also felt so back and forth. Like she'll say, this isn't Carla, and then she'd give a reason why it wasn't Carla, and then they'd explain it away. But the twist did make up for it. When I read it, I felt like it might have needed just a little bit more tweaking just to make it a little bit clearer, but it was genuinely pretty good. Basically, Nick was kind of terrible when he was younger, and he accidentally killed one of his girlfriends. The mom and him want to like cover it up and like hide the body, but Carla's like, no, we need to do what's right and tell the authorities. And so they kill her and throw her body into a well along with the other girl. And so then they send us a postcard from Paris years later to tell MC that Carla was okay because MC's not letting it go. But because MC still wasn't convinced even with the postcard, and Nick and his mom need her to like shut up about Carla, they're like, okay, like what are we supposed to do? But then Nick stumbles upon a girl who looks very similar to what Carla would look like years later. He pays this woman to con main character to, you know, get her off the case. But the final twist is that this girl was actually Carla, who had essentially survived and escaped the well. So she basically was trying to say things that only MC knew that Carla wouldn't say. I might have left some stuff out, but that was like the A to Z of it, and I thought it was decent enough, albeit a bit messy. But overall, I think that the book was pretty fun after the twist was revealed. And honestly, I might even read it again. I wouldn't mind. At number 2, we have The Mystery Guest, which is the sequel to The Maid. My only annoyance here is that I did not read The Maid first. I might still read it anyway, even though the reveal was kind of spoiled to me in this one. Murder mystery wise, the twist was okay. It was decent enough, nothing to really like write home about. But this book made me realize how much I really love cozy mysteries, and I really want to read a lot more cozy mysteries this year. Because while the twist wasn't like amazing, like it wasn't bad, it really wasn't a bad twist. It was like, okay, it was like a who done it, and it was like, who did it? That person. Slay. Like but the vibes of this book were like really, really good. I feel like it could have been in the same neighborhood as like The Woman in the Library, which was like my number 1 book of last year. And I genuinely loved Molly the Maid. She was a really fun protagonist to follow, and I might honestly read the first part just because, even though I know the killer, I really want to see more of her. And finally, at number 1, we have Yellowface, which I strongly recommend. I had a lot of fun with this one. Some people didn't vibe with this book so much and they think that it was racist, but I don't really think that it was. I think the main character was for sure racist, but I don't think the book itself was supposed to be offensive. Basically, the main character, Juniper, a white girl, is a struggling writer and is kind of friends, kind of not friends with the successful lawyer called Athena, who is Asian. Athena is working on a war novel about the Chinese labor corps in World War I. She shows it to June one night when they're hanging out, and then she chokes on a piece of pancake and dies. Okay, it wasn't like a piece of pancake, it was like, she was like eating a lot of pancakes. She was like washing it down, and it basically kind of like, this is like a very dangerous thing and it can happen, but it basically kind of became like cement in her windpipe, which is so scary. So she like literally like chokes to death like right in front of June. And in Juniper's shock and horror, Athena's manuscript for this book makes its way into her bag before the paramedics arrive. Something to be clear here, June is the main character, but she's not supposed to be a good person. I think it was really interesting that she was written almost like an innocent character who like wasn't trying to offend anyone, but it just kept coming out wrong. But there were many moments where it became very clear that even if she wasn't going to outright admit it in her narration, she knew what she was doing. All the characters are quite complex and nuanced as well. While Athena's death was not deserved and June stealing her work was very out of line, Athena was not a saint. There were at least 2 instances of her being like very vulture-like over people's trauma, basically salivating at the thought of writing about it as they poured their hearts out to her. But this book was also so funny, like I was kikiing, chuckling, and hee-hawing. There was a point where she was like mentoring this young Asian author, and she said to her something along the lines of like, well, it's okay, you have it easy because Asian stories are like really in the market now. And the girl was like, by the way, are you Asian? And Juniper was like, well, no. And the girl was like, oh, okay, noted. And this book did really have an interesting thing to say about like non-Western, non-white writers being put into a box. Basically, another character reveals that while Athena was established as an Asian writer, her publishers didn't really allow for her to branch out of writing quote-unquote Asian stories. I don't really know how much personal experience the author put into this, but this doesn't really seem that crazy of a premise. It really could be like, it wasn't purely fiction here. The book also really was not afraid to confront this idea of it's easier to be a person of color these days, or it's so hard to be white now. And I feel like it really handled this topic of like revealing the fact that it's not true. But yes, this is what I read in 2025. Okay, so the book that I mentioned earlier is Gillian McAllister's famous last words. If you do not remember, she also wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was one of my favorite books from last year. This one is looking really, really good so far. So I was like, what if I start this year out with an actual good book? I'm praying that I don't eat my words in December. I also have all these books lined up to read this year. Some of them have been on my want to read for like 2 years now, I think. So it's about time I get around to reading them. I will also be at 12 credits this coming semester, which is the lowest I have ever been at and the lowest that I can be at. Also, 6 of these credits are like choir, voice lessons, and harp lessons. I'm really hoping to like really lighten my load and spend a lot more time doing things that I like, including reading. I say this, but my graduation is also coming up in May, and I am about to throw up even thinking about it. So let's get back to the books. I'm going to try and be a little bit more picky with my books this year. I am not reading rom-coms with pregnancy plots. Sorry, but no. If anyone is following me on Goodreads, by the way, please follow me on Goodreads, and you've seen any rom-coms on my want to read that have this pregnancy subplot in them, please warn me right now. Save me my time. Also, funny segue, but I'm also going to stop listening to Goodreads, like the awards and also the book reviews, because I promise you there are liars there. Like, I swear, I find a book that looks decent and then people say it's bad, and then I read it and I kind of love it, but then the books that win awards are the hardest reads of the year. And yes, that includes the pregnancies. But if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. I think these what I read videos are becoming more for myself than anyone else. It's really nice to see where I've come since January, and I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't really seem like I've come that far, but there's a lot that could not really fully be recorded in my book journey. But I'm hoping to live another year, and I'm hoping that it's going to be better than 2025. But what did you read in 2025? What do you plan to read this year? What should I read this year? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, I'm just a squirrel, and thank you so much for watching.